optimistic he will be ready for Week 1. And this was Cam's first action of the preseason. Since 2011, no quarterback has been hit more often than Cam Newton. At that time, he's been contacted while running or throwing on 1,221 offensive plays. That's 366 more than the next highest quarterback in Russell Wilson. And that's not counting any instances of getting hit in the preseason or playoff games. So on the flip side last night, there was Tom Brady. How about the hat game for Brady? Do you think that's because he knew that Cam would show up in style? So let's check out the 42-year-old. Stands in on the pressure and finds Philip Dorsett for 19 yards down the field. Brady looked sharp early on. Later in the second quarter, 3rd and 3, feeling some pressure. Nobody's there, so he takes off 3 yards and gets the first down.
To get a first down conversion on me scrambling, I'm sure the defense coordinator is like, what the heck? This is not, we got to stop Edelman. We got to stop White. We got to stop the run game. We got to stop, these great players. And all of a sudden, Brady for a scramble, that's got to piss him off pretty good. So I revel in that.
Trolling the DC, isn't you got to love it. He wasn't done scrambling either. Tight end Ryan Izzo finds separation. Brady gets the ball to him for 18 yards. And Izzo.
What a throw.
Yeah, that's sweet, right? And we know they don't have Gronk. Good to see somebody else stepping up. Here's Mike Reese. He was there.
Michael Bennett is in his 11th season, and he told me late Thursday night that he experienced something for the first time. On one play in the Patriots' win over the Panthers, Bennett was the only defender in a three-point stance. Everyone else was standing up at the line of scrimmage, a reflection of the versatility of the Patriots' defense and how they're coming at the opposition in waves. For all the talk about Tom Brady and the Patriots offense, the defense has been very impressive this preseason. Devin McCourty, the Patriots captain and safety, told me that he likes the way they're stopping the run and mixing in the pass rush, and they have a lot of good players, some coming from other teams, like Bennett, and he likes the way the pieces have come together.
Thank you, Mike. Eagles at the Ravens last night. Both Carson Wentz and Lamar Jackson didn't play, but Ravens' first-round pick, Marquise Brown, made his season debut, and the Ravens didn't waste any time getting him the ball. Trace McSorley had a game. He threw his first pass of the night to Brown for a 7-yard gain. What do you like here, Lewis?
I think what you're seeing with Marquise Brown is that electric outside lane speed where he makes defensive backs back off, because if you don't back off of him and you get up on the line and you press him, he's going to run right by you. And here with McSorley, he's just showing nice touch there on the deep sideline fade. That's as good a throw as you can make, as that one is as well.
Yeah, it was really nice to see McSorley stepping up. How about Josh McCown? Was he just sitting here a few days ago? Third quarter, 3rd and 15. McCown shows no rust at all.
And that's an intriguing rookie, Arcega-Whiteside. He's going to be a good red zone addition for Philadelphia.
Three big takeaways from the Eagles-Ravens on Thursday night. Number one, Josh McCown. How about that? On the set in Bristol, Connecticut for ESPN last week, coaching high school football. Part-time, comes out and goes 17 of 24, throws 2 touchdown passes. Looked pretty good doing it. Doug Peterson says Carson Wentz pretty much done for the preseason. Got all the good work in training camp. Peterson says Carson Wentz is ready right now for Week 1 against the Washington Redskins. As for the Baltimore Ravens, look out for that defensive line and that zero blitz. They got after the quarterback in this game. They can still play defense in Baltimore. Susie?
Sal Paolantonio reporting on the Eagles and Ravens. Well, both Trace McSorley and Josh McCown had clean nights. Neither turned it over. Both are relatively new to their current teams, McSorley being a 6th-round pick this year. McCown signed with Philly 6 days ago. When McCown made his first career NFL appearance in 2002, McSorley was 7 years old. With Andrew Luck's status in doubt for Week 1, TheAthletic.com reports that Jacoby Brissett will not play in Saturday's 3rd preseason game. The Colts are resting most of their starters, and Brissett has been the starter in Luck's absence this preseason. Frank Reich said this week, at some level, we want to protect Jacoby. To be honest with you, regardless of Andrew, in theory, even if Andrew's playing in week 1, he still hasn't taken a lot of reps, so you still got to protect Jacoby. So here's the discussion. You've got the 80-yard field in Winnipeg, and you've got a lot of quarterbacks sitting out. At what point do you have to make a change to the preseason?
Well, kind of like Damien Woody's tweet a couple of minutes ago, I think with the evolution of joint practices where they're carefully scripted and you can have coach-to-coach discussion and get the right matchups in terms of, hey, we're going to work on third down here, we're going to look at red zones or pressures. You could have good against good and get your team ready in a much more controlled environment. I believe it was Coach Belichick a number of years ago that really started this wave. So I agree with Damien Woody where I think that's what we're seeing the evolution go to. And maybe in a year or two, we're talking about a shortened preseason and maybe another round of the postseason. But obviously, this is not the product that we all love in terms of seeing NFL football right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bill Belichick was doing joint practices all the way back in 1995. I remember going up to Wisconsin, I believe it was, to practice against the Chicago Bears at that time. So I get the whole controlled environment theory and how you can eliminate the risk of getting your players injured. I get it, and that's what you're weighing right now. You're weighing, is that good enough versus also putting a player into a real live game situation where, again, it's not controlled, and you really do get to see the instinctive part of a player's game, which is a part of the evaluation. Now, it's starting to look like, is that risk worth it? No, it probably isn't, especially when a team suffers a catastrophic injury to a major player. You know for sure that those guys are never going to wind up seeing the field again, and those coaches are going to take the wholesale, my top 22 to 30 players, you're not playing. Just go ahead and put your shorts on, and everybody else will play. And if that's the way the league is trending, and that's the way coaches' thinking is trending, then you just might as well go ahead and kind of like start to adjust how the preseason really is put together, because it doesn't really benefit anyone as far as having these 4 games right now. I mean, fans just aren't getting what they're really paying for. And quite honestly, I mean, they're just not fun to watch on a broader scale for people. So I can see where it's going this way. I am in favor of protecting your players because nobody wants to get to September and not have your key components out there. You just don't.
And look at the Jets situation. You know, Adam Gase is a really hard situation. They're getting criticized. Le'Veon Bell hasn't played in a year. He needs to play. And yet you go back last week, they lose Avery Williamson, a really good linebacker for the year, getting hurt in a preseason game. So I understand why Coach Gase would say, you know what, Le'Veon, you're too important. We'll get you ready for the opener. So the coaches, the organizations, they're truly in a no-win situation.
And because this isn't all about common sense, a lot of it has to do with money. Let's bring Adam back in. Adam, like, what has to happen for real change to happen?
Well, I think that is something that's getting discussed, Susie, in the next round of collective bargaining talks when they come up with a new CBA, which would start for the 2021 season. It's only obvious that they're going to reduce, if not eliminate, the preseason. The NFL teams have already begun to do that themselves. When they scrimmage with each other during the week, those teams are barely playing their regulars during the actual preseason games. And I heard Lewis say these games are not good for anyone. The only people they're actually good for are the long shots trying to find a spot onto the roster. But they have plenty of opportunity during camp to impress the coaches, during those intra-squad scrimmages, during the scrimmages versus the other team. So there's opportunity there for some of these guys who are coming up trying to achieve a lifelong dream to impress their current organizations. But to me, this is the year where preseason football really became obsolete. You're seeing more and more teams rest more and more regulars to the point where when they go out in the 3rd week of the preseason, which usually is a dress rehearsal, there are fewer regulars than ever playing before. Now, it goes up against somebody like Bill Belichick and all his success, who's going out there and plays Tom Brady in week 3 and plays some of his regulars in week 3. But that seems to be almost an exception these days. And you're getting more teams like the Rams and the Bears, high-powered, successful organizations that aren't playing any starters even in a week like this.
Yeah, times change, right? You have to be able to roll with it.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is not only Bill Belichick, Andy Reid is one of those people who runs one of the hardest camps as well that you will see throughout the 32 teams. And then you have Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy, who are descendants of Andy Reid, who take a totally different approach. They're like, we're not playing our guys. And it's interesting because it kind of cuts both ways. I mean, who are you going to argue against? You're going to argue against Bill Belichick? You're going to argue against Andy, who have had the kind of career records that they've had as far as preparing their teams? It's really just going to be, you're almost going to have to take it out of the hands of the coaches and kind of make it just an overall rule. Either eliminate the preseason, or if you're going, I mean, I guess you really should just go ahead and eliminate it from a fan perspective, because fans are getting turned off to it. Although I do agree with Adam in this. Players still need it, especially bottom 14, bottom 20 players who really need to show, like I did when I was playing. They need these reps to show really what they can do in game situations. But with the way it's trending, I do see change coming. There's no way they're going to keep 4 games for the foreseeable future.
Okay, much more to come on this, we know. When we come back, we'll get right back to Adam as well, because we'll be talking about Ezekiel Elliott, a continued holdout. He's back training in Cabo as he awaits a new contract. Will the money talk this time?
I've earned the right with Zeke to joke. Period. Right. I've earned it. Whose dog is